G'day, fellas. Today I'm going to be coming at you with a coaching session. Today we're going to be coaching Thomas, and Thomas is going to be playing the Dutch for us. Thomas, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Aussie. Hope you're doing well too.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm doing absolutely perfect. So you've chosen to play the Dutch, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of coaching for you. So can you give me just a little brief background on your experience with Age of Empires?
Okay, I didn't really play Legacy, at least not on multiplayer. I was like 7 when I played it, and I played some of the campaign and whatnot. The only multiplayer experience I have had before the release of D was on Age of Empires 2, and I was absolutely trash at it. I was one of the low elo scrubs. Um, I've been playing D since it came out, so like a bit more than a month now. Uh, I would say I'm the average Joe on multiplayer ladder.
Okay, so how many games have you played on the multiplayer ladder in 1v1?
I can give it a look, but I think it was about 70 now? Yeah, around 70, 70-ish.
Okay, that's not too bad. So about 70 team games and about 70 1v1 games, so about 1,000 rating at the moment. So yeah, I'd say about average. All right, and so you're playing the Dutch. Are they a civilization that you're familiar with? Like, how would you rate your familiarity with them?
I mean, I don't really play European civs, commonly. I'm more of a India player, at least in ranked. I would say I'm familiar. Like, I know what they do. I know the units. I know how their eco works. I would say though, I struggle a bit with the transitions.
Right. Okay. So we'll start off just taking a look at your decks and just see what you've got there, and maybe I'll ask you some questions about it if I don't really know what you're doing. All right. That deck looks pretty good to me. Yeah.
It's your deck,
Well,
so
that's why
it
it
should
looks
look
so
good.
good. And your 1v1 water deck, I'm assuming it's my water deck. Okay,
It's your
perfect.
1v1 water deck.
Wonderful.
Like, it only changes one card.
Yeah,
So yeah, the team decks are the same, but I don't
perfect.
really think those matter at the moment.
All right, cool. Well, let's talk a little bit more about what your game plan is. So you're going to be heading into ranked. Obviously, some people can deal with anxiety when it comes to ranked. If you're up against a civilization that's going to be rushing you, what's your game plan going to be?
Usually get one or two batches of units out just to shrug it off at the beginning and get my eco strong enough so I can build up and eventually win the game by doing so.
All right, and what does winning the game look like? Is that a fortress age thing? Is that an industrial age thing? Is that a second age
Uh,
thing?
I would say that with Dutch, it should be a fortress slash early industrial thing. I think it really depends on the matchup and the civ.
Yeah, I would agree with you
Um,
completely. I would be aiming for that fortress timing. And then, so your unit composition, what are you going to be looking at making?
Again, I think it really depends on the matchup. But if I'm going, for example, for I don't know, semi-FF or an FF, get one or two batches of hussars out, and then eventually transition into skirms and Reuters
Okay,
with some cannons out to complement it.
that sounds good to me. So now, if you're against a more economic civilization, so hypothetically, let's say the Portuguese, what build order are you going to be looking at doing? Like, do you have a card order in mind that you're going to be aiming for?
Uh, I do have a card order. Let me pull out the deck so I can look at it. But I would probably go for three Vils, Bankwagon, eventually either three Hussar or eight Pikemen. Probably three Hussar with a batch of Hussar, and try to get some raiding in, try to idle his DCs, and eventually kill some villagers.
Right, okay. So, one of the things that I would suggest in a more economic focused matchup is that you'd be wanting to send the 700 wood as your first card, and you'd be building extra banks with it, and then you'd be shipping your bank wagon after that. That way, you could still get your raiding cav in, but instead of sending three hussars, it'd be almost a waste of a shipment because you're already able to achieve what you can with eight hussars with five hussars. So I'd
Okay,
be saying
that's fair.
going for 700 wood and then the bank wagon. But that's something that we
Why invert the order? Why get the bank wagon after the 700 wood?
the idea is that you with the 700 wood you're versatile. So with the bank wagon you're 100% committed to making units. But with the 700 wood, it allows you to spend the resources that you're gathering on that extra bank early, because you've now got an extra 350 wood, or technically an extra 700 wood that you can build banks with, and then you can always ship that bank wagon later.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, well, let's dive into some 1v1. So, are there any? Do you find any matchups difficult, or any strategies particularly difficult when you're playing as the Dutch?
There is a specific matchup that I've been struggling with, which is Brits at the moment. Just because I feel that not having a Musk type unit against Brits makes your life kind of hard. Because if they open with Hussar and you have skirmishers, you're done. And if they open with muskets and you have Hussar, you're done. So I feel like they kind of dictate the pace of the matchup, and that kind of bothers me.
Dutch can definitely have a difficult time against civilizations that open Musk Hus. There's a famous strategy from Samwise, I think it is. It's the 5-5, where there's 5 muskets and 5 hussars in your base at roughly 6 minutes, and it's incredibly difficult for Dutch to deal with.
Should
But
deal with that, yeah.
yeah, normally the best way to do it is try and use the town center to snipe off the muskets and attack the cav with the cav. The
All
other
right.
other
Right.
alternative is just opening stable and then trying to get off some raids, while at the same time trying to not be as idle as possible. All right, looks like we've got a game loading.
Let's see who we get matched up against.
So we're up against the
Oh,
Germans on Florida. So it's a water map.
this guy is actually from here, from the server.
Oh, cool.
I,
All right.
I have him on my friends list.
Well, good luck.
Oh, okay, no, it
No,
was it was
it's a
back, yeah.
different guy.
Just the things.
All right, so I'm going to mute my microphone and I'm going to continue
Alright.
watching you. It'll mute in Discord, but it'll still be recording. So when you watch this later, you'll be able to hear all the feedback. I'll also tell you at the end about it. So that way I'm not backseat gaming for you. Okay?
Alright. I'll talk to you in a bit, I guess, then.
All right. All right, so the map is Florida. He started off with a market. So hopefully we're going to be able to see him pick up hunting dogs nice and early here, because he does start with the 200 wood as well. At the moment, it just looks like he's going straight to food. So this is quite a common Dutch opening, where you basically don't build or don't gather any coin. And it looks like he might be going for that. So he hasn't put down a trade post yet. He can do the Pirashiki 9/12, which is where you go 9 settlers and then you ship the 3 settlers and you take a trade post. Doesn't look like he's doing that either, but he is moving his sheep into position. This is really good. Okay, so he's trying to go for a quick age up. That's what it looks like it's going to be. So the matchup that he's playing is Germans, so we can expect that he's going to experience at least a little bit of pressure in the early game. So whether that means, what I would like to see is that he goes 700 wood first, and then with the 700 wood, he builds a barracks and builds 5 pikes. And hopefully we can see him begin to do some herding as well. So the hunts, they're slowly transitioning away from his town center. Okay, so he does pick up hunting dogs. This is really good to see. And he's come in at the perfect time. 1v1 land, so he hasn't gone the water deck, which is the wise thing. It looks like his enemy's fighting against that in ranged mode. Doesn't look like he's doing it in melee, which I don't think explorers beat blowgunners. But he's doing the right thing, just sitting here, waiting, hovering around, and then he's going to come in and snipe it and pick up the 80 wood treasure. Perfect time, and aging up with the quartermaster. So he did that very well. His opponent, obviously, his mechanics aren't the best yet. Ideally, if you're playing against, or if you're fighting against a blowgunner, you're going to be wanting to take it on in melee, because it does reduce damage in melee. So now the transition begins. So we can see that Thomas is beginning to work what looks like towards a bank. He's gathering both food and wood. He's checking the opponent's deck now, and the opponent has a very interesting deck. Okay, it kind of looks like a combination between No Rush. Anyway, so Thomas has made a little bit of an error here. Well, not an error, but just a strategic blunder. When he's taking out this treasure, he should be hitting it with a ranged attack, and then kiting it out to the edge of the circle, and then shooting it again once it bounces off the edge of the circle. And then from there, he can then take his crack shot at the second crocodile. What's happened now is that he's taken a whole bunch of damage. He's probably taken close to 120, 130 damage from this alligator right here that he didn't need to. So he's macroed perfectly for his bank. So the bank's going up. His age up's about to be at 4 minutes. So curious to see what he's going to do, whether he's going to put a barracks up at the beginning. Let's see what he does. So he ships the bank wagon. So one of the errors here is that he is tasking his villagers to build the bank and then to collect the wood. Ideally, you'd have your villagers collecting that wood immediately, and you'd probably want it to be more than one, especially if you're going to be aiming to put down a barracks soon. So he's queued the settler, which is the right thing to do. But one of the big issues that I'm already seeing is have a look how far out these hunts are. We're against a German player. Now, even though our German enemy hasn't aged up yet, when his Ulans eventually come in, our hunt is going to be far out from our town center. We want our hunts to be sitting underneath our town center. All right, so the bank wagon's coming out. So good base building from Thomas. He's building this wall at the front. Banks have got a huge amount of health, so it's important that you use them to build a nice little pocket around the front of your base. And now putting up the third bank as well. So, and placing, so he's put in the shipment for the 700 wood. We might see with this 700 wood that he puts down the barracks and gets those pikemen out. But my fear is that it might be too late. And these villages are really quite far out. And if we do see those Ulans come in from the enemy, it's going to mean that there's going to be a loss of 2 or 3 villages before they manage to get in. All right. Still got a couple of sheep. Probably could have used those to age up, but not a big deal. So he is doing the right thing in that he's coming behind the hunt, but it looks like it was still on the reset. So now his wood has arrived. There's no villagers picking it up at this very second. Probably want to have villagers on that immediately, especially because the German probably going to have cav. There's the cav. There's the 5 Ulans immediately coming into the base. And now we've got an issue because we've got no units. We've got no barracks. We've got no pikemen. And our hunt is far away from our town center. And our wood is on the ground. And so it means that we're going to have a difficult time. So we're down to 13 settlers. I'm not sure how many we've lost, but 13 settlers definitely seems like we've lost at least a handful. And so Thomas opting here for a stable instead of a barracks. So I'll be curious to see how he deals with the continued pressure. It's going to be hard because if this German is doing continued semi-fast or doing a semi-fast fortress, it means that those Ulans that you saw aren't going to be the only Ulans. There's probably going to be more, and there's going to be a significant Ulan mass that continues to build up over the next minute or two. And it means that even if Thomas manages to get out 5 Hussar, he's going to have a difficult time dealing with them, and the Ulan are going to be able to fight them and pick them off. All right, so we see Thomas here sending 8 pikes. So, okay, he's taken it back and he's gone 600 wood. I'm glad he's done that because the 8 pikes, in my opinion, would have been a waste. Now, it doesn't look like the German player has actually trained any more Ulans since last time. Thomas has been really quick on bringing his settlers in, but he still loses one villager. If these hunts were underneath the town centre, he wouldn't be losing any villagers. But unfortunately, they're not, because our herding early game wasn't the best. So now Thomas is... he's got a batch of 3 hussars out. So those 3 hussars, they're going to have a difficult time against the 5 enemy Ulans that come in. So he's training up another batch of hussars. So this is a little bit of an awkward situation because Thomas needs to be aging up. So he's actually cancelled those hussars. And the computer telling Thomas that he has got the first trade site. So Thomas is doing the right thing here in that he's going for the raid. He's putting the pressure on the enemy here. He's in the position to drop down some more infrastructure. I'd like to see him drop down a bank. A bit dangerous for him to be putting down the barracks like that and just ignoring the Ulans, but I think the enemy does appear to be distracted by the raid that's happening back home. So in this position, I'd like to see Thomas just continue his settler production, make his 5th bank, and try and age up to the 3rd age as quickly as possible and begin massing Reuters. That's the most important thing he can do. It doesn't look like he's going to be dropping down his 5th bank. And the German player aging up with the arsenal. Okay. Some interesting strategy. So Thomas is going to lose these 3 cavs. So these 3 cavs essentially become a wasted investment. There was a raid that he got off earlier, but these cav aren't going to be able to be reused or they're not going to build a part of that main army like the pikes would. So now he's aging up. He's got 30 population space, so hopefully we'll see him begin to drop down some houses, and he's queued up a... Okay, let's wait. We'll see what he's doing. So he's lost his hussar. So now he's putting down his 5th bank as he's aging up. Okay, interesting choice. And then putting down... So he does have a market. Fortunately, on this map, you do start with the market. And my fear was that he wasn't going to be... if he didn't have the market that he'd start with. All right, so he does the right thing. He sends 9 Reuters as the first thing, as the first shipment. So what I want him to be doing with the Reuters is establishing map control. The German player hasn't aged up yet, so he doesn't have skirmishes on the field. Once he ages up, he's still going to have another 30-second window before skirmishes are out on the field. He has complete control. I want him taking out hunts. I want to see him really applying pressure. At this point, he's built up a pretty large surplus of coin. So ideally what he should be doing is selling some of that or using that coin to buy wood so that he can purchase or build another military building, because he's got an economy that's much bigger than 2 military buildings. He needs to be building 3 military buildings. And the second thing is he needs housing space. So he's just done it there. So he's built a house. One of the mistakes is building a house along the shore, even though the Germans aren't typically a water civilization. If the enemy potentially goes water, it could mean that if he builds a frigate, that Thomas will lose that house. So it's just normally best to avoid it in the first place. Now, Thomas was doing something called drag boxing. He's not doing that anymore. So he's doing the right thing here. So the enemy still isn't aged up yet. I think the enemy might be doing the slow age up, which is the marksman, which ages up with skirmishes. He's doing the correct play here, which is really just putting pressure out onto the map. He's taking out Ulans. He's getting all these Ulans for free. And it looks like he's just going to begin sieging. Instead of sieging, because the units that he's got are quite low on their siege, it's probably best that he be applying pressure to the enemy's villages. So I'd like to see both the skirms and the Ulans moving up towards the hunt. We can see that there's a hunt over there. There's 2 dead animals on the ground. He could be going and putting pressure on those animals, stop the enemy from gathering those resources. So the enemy continues to be putting out plenty of Ulans. So Thomas needs to be pulling back his skirmishers so that they're not being hit by the Ulans. Try and keep his Reuters on the front line. Now, it does look like he's doing a good job in that he's rallying further Reuters to the front line and his skirmishers to the front line. But he hasn't put them in a command group. So he's built up quite a large surplus of food as well at this point. So he needs to be more effectively balancing his resources. So I'd like to see him take off at this point, maybe even about 10 settlers and just put them all on coin. So because Thomas has been sieging the stable, it meant that the enemy cavalry has just been able to pop out on top of it. And as a result, it can take out his Reuters almost instantly because they don't have to close the gap. If your Reuters are sieging and you're not watching them, the enemy's cav just pops out right on top of you and starts wailing away. They get the snare off, and now you've got a problem. So Thomas continues to commit to the stable. He's also got a shipment in reserve. Okay, he's used the shipment. Okay, good. That's the correct shipment in this position. So realistically, he should be microing with both of these. So he should be running his skirmishes at the same time as his Reuters. So he's done the right thing with his Reuters. He's pulled them back. But with his skirmishes, he needs to be pulling his skirmishes away from that stable so that they're not being hit as often by the Ulan, so that they've got a higher chance of surviving. But we now see, so he's building up Thomas has built up a surplus of 2,000 food at this point. So he's now researching steel traps. Apparently the surplus isn't big enough. He wants more food. So I would probably advise against researching steel traps at this point, just because it is quite late into the fortress age. But it looks like he's in a good position. His score is significantly higher than his opponent's. His opponent hasn't managed to age up. It did look like he was going to be doing some sort of semi-fast fortress, but I think with the pressure that Thomas applied, it didn't appear to get up. So let's see what the next shipment is going to be. So 7 skirmishes. So now Thomas is really starting to add to his mass. This is quite formidable. It means that the batches of Ulans that are popping out from the stables aren't going to be as impactful on the units that Thomas is sieging with, and victory is his. So
Okay, that was
game.
a bit sloppy, but
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to learn from that one, but it was really good to watch. I'm not sure if it's best to break down that game now, but let's have a look. How many vills did you end up losing? So 3 vills at the start.
3 vills. Yep.
Was it only 3 vills? Jeez, it felt
Yeah,
like
it was only 3.
it felt like more than that to me. I saw those Ulans in your base just forever.
I was sadly counting them going down, like one by one.
Yeah. Well, you played well. Your Reuter micro was quite good as well. One of the things that I did talk about was when the enemy's got the Ulans on you, it's important that you micro both your Reuter and your skirmishers as well, because you just had your skirms sort of sitting still and the Ulan wailing away on them. So it's a good idea to like keep your Ulan or keep the skirmishers moving and the Reuters moving at the same time, backing away.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing that was kind of big is that you're floating 2,500 food at the moment. That could all be in units. So if you had pulled off your settlers from
like 5 villies to this mine, and I could get more units out. And that's true.
Yeah, I think at one point you had 22 settlers on coin, and so yeah, it was a good idea to just, especially when you notice that you've got an excess of one thing, just pull them all off, or take off like everybody except 1 or 2. It's not a bad idea. So all right, if you wanted to go another game, we'll start it up again, and this time we'll try and take it a different way. So the last game, it was more of me sort of speaking in the background and talking about what I was hoping that you'd do, and commenting on the things that I was seeing. So
Did it disappoint you?
look, I was very scared when I saw those 6 Ulan marching into your base when your hunts went under your town center. You had no
Yeah, I
barracks,
heard it
no
in like
pikemen.
shit at the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I was very scared. So look, I'm surprised to see that you managed to pull off a win despite losing that many vills early. But no, you didn't disappoint me. That's for sure.
I mean, to be fair, the man who went on Mills early on, he was not the best player.
Yeah. For me, I guess it's more about watching you rather than watching the enemy. The
That's
enemy
fair.
could be
Yeah.
I am Grunt, and we could still find things
Oh no,
that
please
you're doing
no,
wrong.
don't. Mercy.
Yeah. Well, you've seen the rumors. He potentially is back, so
I
hopefully.
saw it. I went to see his historic on competitive play, and the man is an absolute beast.
Yeah, yeah. I think at the moment on the ladder he's got about what is it, 18 wins and 0 losses, and yeah, in the past.
I think he dropped like one game.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I think it was from Jazz. I think Jazz said it. That he dropped a game on stream, but it was kind of crazy. Yeah, the man has a shit ton of wins. His win ratio is crazy.
Yeah, I think I remember in the original game his win rate was something absurd, like 96% win rate. All right, well, looks like we've got another game. All right, so this one's it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be talking you through a bit more. All right, it's against
Alright.
Spain. Oh gosh, I'd love to say that you're on your own, but yeah, I guess I got to help you. All right, so in this, I think it's important that you put a few more villagers onto coin at the beginning of the game. And
Okay, because I had a lot of idle time on my GC.
yeah,
I
you did.
realized that.
Yeah, so start training villagers straight away as well. All right. And so ideally at the beginning we're looking for food treasures. That's what we want as Dutch. And wood treasures. They're going to be the big ones. So let's rally our town center to the forward mine. And then we'll get all of the villagers that are gathering the crates at the moment. We get them on the forward mine as well. Once they're finished, yeah. All right, yeah. So with our explorer, well, let's take him all the way out to the invisible ring, and then get ready to shoot once he bounces back. Yep. Now we shoot, and now we follow the tiger over to the left. So don't go into the circle. Don't go into the invisible circle. Yep. Perfect. That's good. All right. You got him down to half HP. All right, that's looking good. So you're going to want to drop down a house. Now, against Spain, they're going to be rolling in with falconets. So putting a house down at the very front like that, it's very brave. But you've committed to it now, so good luck. Let's hope that he doesn't roll over with falconets at the 8th minute and destroy that house. All right, so his deck looks pretty standard. He's got
That's
ATP.
a lot of plugins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so don't forget to train a villager for yourself. Yeah. All right, now once you hit the 15th villager and it's trained in the queue, pull everyone off coin and chuck them over to food. All right. All right, so by sending all of your settlers out at the same time, it makes all of them idle. So the best thing to do would be to send one out and then put the... Oh, all right. Potential steal. A bit
Nope.
slow.
Too late. Nope. The fact that I stole the wood treasure last game was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was good. All right, so now your town center is still rallied, so you might want to switch your home city shipment point. All right, so maybe get your explorer and just search for additional hunts around your base. As the Dutch, ideally you're going to want 2 hunts to be in close. All right, and yep, going up with the quartermaster.
Shit. Quartermaster is better, right?
Yeah,
Instead
always
of
the
the
quartermaster. And then switching over about like 9 villages to wood. Probably to 10 now. Yeah. So you'd want 5 on food, and then 10 on... Yep. And so there's a hunt to the south of your town center. It's a good idea to get that in, so you can get that in with one of your wood villages. So with your envoy, it's idle underneath the enemy town center. So what you can do is, if I'm you, I would send my explorer over to your enemy's town center right now, and you'd put it in melee mode. And so you can leave your envoy there. It's just, yeah, you got to be careful because your enemy might try and shoot it. And you're going to try and find the enemy's wagon that he's going to be aging up with.
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
All right, so you've got enough now for your bank, so you can drop down your bank. And what you're going to want to do is move a whole bunch of villages.
Get the bank in the back this time, because he's gonna come with the Falconets, and get 4 villies onto coin.
I'd be putting a lot more onto coin, because you want to make sure your town
lot
center
onto
isn't
coin?
idle.
Okay, fair.
So then once you age up, I'd be going with the 700 wood.
Okay, this
And-
how he goes here.
Yeah, and yeah, it's correct. All right, and queue your villager. There he is. So you can just leave him. Okay, wonderful. He's put it in his base, so you just back off. So now you're going to scout for a forward. He might be doing a rush on you, so bring your envoy as well. And you're just going to go have a look and see if you can spot a forward base near you. All right, so take 3 villages off the coin mine. Yeah, I'd be putting down a Rax against Spain, definitely.
Against Spain? Okay.
Yeah.
What if they come with Lancers, though?
Oh, you're gonna... Don't worry, you will have a stable.
Okay.
Eventually, but for now, yeah. All right, and putting down a Rax as well. Yeah, a bank. Yep, correct. So it's a good idea with your bank to try and prioritize it. So you've shift queued your bank at the moment, and it's okay to leave it for now, but you just want to make sure that with that bank, you get villagers building it immediately, because that's the equivalent of 4 villages that's just sitting there on the ground, just waiting.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So you want to try and herd in your hunts. At the moment, they're not looking too hot, so it might be a good idea to send a villager out and try and get them in. So you've got your next shipment as well.
And I should go for a bank wagon and build a second bank myself, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Get out 10 more wood, get the bank down.
And yeah, you're doing well. And then so a 4 bank FF is pretty common against Spain. So yeah. And now you don't need to gather any more wood. You can just put the rest of the villages onto food is probably best. And continue herding that hunt towards your town center.
Should I send any to coin at this point?
No, I think you're... Oh, you want to send all of the rest of your villagers to coin.
Right.
Now, with your current shipment, you've got 2 options. First one is save it. Second one is ship 600 wood. I would be
600 wood.
I would be advocating to send the 600 wood. With that 600 wood, you're going to be making a market, as well as extra infrastructure like a couple houses, and ideally you're going to be putting down a Rax. So he's hit Fortress Age 728.
I already have Rax.
Yeah, you'll be putting down another one.
Okay. Just so I can compete with the amount of units he's putting out.
So you've just gone and sacrificed your envoy.
Oh, that was not intentional. Oopsie.
So you might want to bring your explorer back, just because you're going to be using him potentially to snare. So bring him back to your base. Yeah, and maybe bring those 2 settlers in as well. And and gather the 600 wood with your 3 closest villagers. So cancel that villager that's in production now, just because you're going to be aging up to the fortress age. And then once you've aged up, you need to begin training a skirmisher immediately. Perfect. And now we're going to put down a market as well as 2 houses. All right, and now you've got some villagers on the outside of the coin mine. Bring those villagers behind the town center, and you're going to put them on the back coin mine. So you've been mining from the front one all this time. Now you can go to the back one. Now with the barracks, yep, correct. No. So
well, should I get any hussar?
No, we're not making any hussar. We're
Okay.
making Reuters and skirmishers.
Reuters. Okay, straight away.
As soon as we reach the third age, you're going to be shipping 9 Reuters immediately. Once you've got the shipment, and placing the Reuters in queue as well.
Already did.
Oh, perfect.
Get a second rags, as I said.
Yep.
And
also
another house
put down a house. Now, I wouldn't be putting it at the front. As you see your enemies pushing in, he's got quite a big force. Put your... make sure you train your units. You've got units that are about to come out. Make sure you train them. Now bring your skirmishers back. Don't let them die to the falconets. And make sure that your Reuters pop out the back of your town center. Perfect. Now...
oh, no. Yeah. Bad.
Cancel the Reuter that's training and call Minutemen. Oh, uncancel the... And you're going to send the Minutemen directly to the falconet. Oh, that's okay.
No,
that's fine.
No, yeah.
So use your town center to target the falconets with... And you can also buy back your explorer as well. Use your market to purchase wood, to purchase food rather, and build Reuters.
Reuters? Okay.
Click on your barracks and delete it. Oh, not that barracks. No.
Oh, okay. The other one. Well, I did what you said. Didn't really think about it.
All right. That was a strong Spain timing. It looks like your opponent this game has practiced his build order a lot more than your opponent did last game.
Yeah, he's probably not on mills yet.
He's probably not on mills yet. So one of the most critical error that you made in this game,
other than deleting my barracks,
your barracks, was you hit the town bell. The town bell is what I would call a big noob trap. So ideally what you want to be doing is just pulling in the villages that are being threatened. That's it. You only want to pull in the threatened villages. Because you had villages that were behind your town center that were perfectly safe that are now sitting inside your town center. They're not gathering resources, which means that you can't build units anymore. All right. Well, I think you're in a position where you can probably resign at this point.
Oh yeah, I figured. Was just kiting the dog's eye.
You can requeue for another ranked game. Hopefully we get him again, because I think that you're able to beat him. It'll require... I still like that barracks delete. I probably should have clarified. The unbuilt barracks. What I was going to ask you to do was...
I didn't even remember that those barracks was there.
Yeah.
Being really honest. But yeah, I think your idea was to delete those and build one in the back of my base and start training skirms back there, right?
Yeah, something similar. So when it comes to base building, especially against an aggressive civilization like Spain or the Ottomans, like anyone who's going to rush you or hit you with a fast fortress timing, it's best that you leave your banks at the front and your houses at the back. So what happened in that game was your enemy was just easily able to destroy your house and just walk straight past your front coin mine and begin attacking your units. You want to create a nice little safe pocket for your units to be able to sit in. And to do that, you can't build them with fragile buildings like the house. you need to ideally be using the banks, because otherwise they're just going to go straight through the houses. So try and build a line of banks towards the front of your base, or towards the enemy, and leave your houses at the back. Also, with your military infrastructure, it's best, if you're going to make them part of the wall, try and leave a little gap for them, just so that your units can all get out. Because in that game, one of the things that was happening is that your units were getting split. You had 2 coming out on one side and 3 coming out on the other, and they can get picked off a lot easier if that's the case. And always make sure you try and keep the military production buildings towards the back of the base.
Alright.
I know that was a lot of information,
Gotcha.
so sorry.
No, I can compute that. Don't worry. Okay, so houses in the back, banks in the front, space so your units don't do dumb buffing,
Yeah, that's exactly it.
and don't delete your build tracks.
Yes, that is also one of the core things. Yes. All right.
I thought you were just memeing at that point. Just, go ahead, delete your barracks, hit resign.
To resign, yes. I'd like to say that I was, but I really wasn't. That was the heat of the moment right there. It wasn't until I realized you were doing what you were doing, I was like, oh my lord. All right, so how did you want to play the third game? Did you want to play the same way that we did in the first game, or the same way that we did in the second game? It's up to you.
I'm okay with both of them, honestly. I'm not bothered by instructions. It's whatever's best for you.
Okay. Well, we're up against the Germans, so we might do. I might do some voice coaching to you. So the first mistake you've already made is to speak to your enemy. You want to be queuing your villagers. That's the very first thing you do. In every single game, you just be spamming that villager button. So he's already thrown you off, and make sure we take that cougar over there to the north. So chuck about 3 settlers onto your coin mine, and then the rest of them can go onto food once they've finished gathering the crate, and then also rally them to the food. Yeah. All right. So you want to send your explorer in the opposite direction of your envoy. And make sure you drop down a house. Now, against the Germans, typically they're not going to be hitting you with cannons, so you don't really have to keep your houses at the back and your banks at the front. You can more just create that concave, that semicircle around that front side of your base. That's what you want to be doing. And we're looking for food treasures. So what do we got here? Perfect, food. All right, so we're going to kite them out to the invisible ring. So we're not avoid fighting them until they reach the outer ring, and then once they're keep stepping back. Now shoot. Yep, there we go. Perfect. Okay, looking good. Really well played. That was almost a perfect treasure take. I would even go to say it was perfect. And your 3 settlers are in on time. It's looking good. All right, so we're against the Germans. So one of the things you're going to need to do, yes. So 1 settler. Don't need to send 2, just 1. So yeah, just send her back, and go out to the other hunt as well. So you can keep 1 settler on this hunt, 1 settler on that hunt, and now take your settlers off the coin mine as well, because you've gathered up that extra coin that you needed, and you can chuck them over onto food. All right, and making sure with your settler and envoy, or your explorer and envoy, you don't double up with scouting. So you can see the enemy's explorer. He's just picked up a treasure. All right, so you know where he is. All right, and aging up with the quartermaster. So switch a whole bunch over to wood. So ideally you'd want about 6 on food and then 9 on wood. So yep. Now continue herding as well. You've got that 1 villager that's a little bit out there. Make sure you're pushing those hunts in. Nicely done. Now, are there any treasures over on the other side of the map that you are thinking about going for?
Not any of those, no. I was thinking about this one, maybe.
I think the
But
110
other than that,
coin is a good candidate to go for. Or what's that treasure that you've got close to your base? The 2 wolves.
it's 90 coin.
I think that's a great treasure. That's probably the best one you could go for because this one it's a little bit dangerous. The 3 wolves, but
Just as it's
so
I
close to
mean,
his base.
I
Yeah,
can see his base though with the envoy.
yeah, but you can't see his explorer.
That's fair. I mean, it's high risk, high reward. I'll do the stupid move.
I
See if
like
it
it.
pays off.
All right, so with the bank, you're going to use 3 settlers to build it. So use the front 3 settlers. These settlers have got to walk a huge amount of distance. So you want those settlers that are right next to the bank to be building it immediately. Also shift a whole
Alright,
bunch over to
sorry.
coin straight away as well. Don't forget to task our explorer to go and pick that up.
Oh, already.
Oh, you already did. Wonderful. All right, so you're up. You're gonna have a bit of idle time. There you go. Now you can so
bank wagon or 700 wood.
700 wood definitely. And with your starting wood, so your opponent isn't up
I'll
yet.
get a stable.
No, you're gonna go
Because
barracks.
once.
No,
Barracks?
you're gonna go barracks. Yep.
Alright.
All right. So, oh, this is a much better deck. All right. So make sure you're bringing in
That's
your hunts. Shoot those hunts in.
No, actually, no, I don't need to do that. I have a leader.
Perfect. Train your settlers from the homes. Yep. And wonderful. So now we're going to drop down a house as well.
Barracks may be a bit misplaced. Could have been a bit towards the back.
That's okay. All right. And so now with the 700 wood, we're going to train 5 pikes. And we're also going to start building another bank. We also want to make sure that any of our villages that are out come in, just simply because we need to protect them and we need to make sure that they're under the TC. So if you've got any villages that are far out, now's a good time to bring them in.
I think only that one. Maybe take these and hunt one of these instead.
Yeah, I think that's the right move.
How big of a deal is if I let one hunt go to waste?
It's not a big deal. So don't forget to train settlers as well. And so now with your pikemen, ideally you're going to be keeping them on top of your settlers. Because that's...
Like around here?
Yep, right on top of them. And so when those Ulans come in, you're going to be able to take them out immediately. So when you're building your banks, yeah, you want to be building them with the villages that are closest to your banks. You've also got enough to put up a third bank as well as this bank wagon. So now your opponent's pushing in with crossbows. So immediately you're going to start training skirmishes and get ready for your bank wagon. Your bank wagon is about to come in. So you need to put it into a bank immediately. All right, make sure you fall back. And be careful with your settlers at the front, correct? And you're going to need to put up a house with your settlers that are behind your base, correct? And if you're not feeling confident in this position, you can always ship 3 hussars.
I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think it's my best bet in here.
And so now with both barracks, you're going to begin to train skirmishers. And put the villages that are idle underneath your town center in the town center. Make sure that you rally both of your barracks to the correct positions. Yep, that one's right. Yep, perfect. All right, and continue training settlers from your town center.
I think with the 3 hussars and the scrims that are coming out, I should be okay.
Yeah, you should be fine. Make sure you continue training. Yeah, so perfect. So just avoid engaging.
For the scrims to pop up, yeah.
Right, continue training skirmishers as well from both barracks. So if you pick off the pikemen, you should be able to easily go in and clean that up. Wonderful. So you can head in now. Now there's more pikemen coming in as well. So make sure you pick off. So your hussars are having a bit of a run around. All right. So maybe ship 8 pikes from your home city, just because there's Ulans coming in. I'm going to mute my microphone now, just because it's a little bit tense, what's happening, and I just want to let Thomas play. So we'll see if he can pull himself out of this. The pikemen come out, so he's going to just fight pike on pike. This probably isn't the best choice. Ideally, he wants to be keeping his pikemen alive, and if they're fighting against the pikes, then the crossbows are going to be killing them. And it means that the next Ulan batch that comes in are just going to have free reign. I think he's realised that, but he's still getting kited by the pikemen at the moment, or still getting tagged by the pikemen at the moment. So now his 5 skirmishers have popped out. The problem is that he's got 18 idle villages at the moment. He does have 3 banks, which is the equivalent of about 12 villages, but okay, so wonderful. Now, the problem is that all of his villages are going to be hunting really far away from his town centre. So they're not going to be safe at all. And so it means that in this situation, where ideally he'd like to have them underneath his town centre, they're not going to be able to. So they're not going to be safe.
What shipment should I take here? Should I take any?
I
or
think your
do I
best
just
option
try
is 600 wood.
to survive this? 600 wood, okay.
Yeah, and just continue making skirms and villages. When your 600 wood comes, probably at a stable. So he's doing the right thing in kiting. He needs to make sure that when he's kiting it appropriately timed. So each 3 seconds, you're going to take a shot. So he's somewhat managed to hold at this point. His score isn't looking terrible, but his units are in a very questionable, or his settlers are in a really questionable position. If a single cav raid comes in, it's going to mean that he loses a huge amount of units. So hopefully that doesn't happen for him. So one of the most critical errors that we made in the early game was assuming
So
that the German was
I
going to fast
think
forward.
he has ran out of steam, at least for now.
Yeah, but let's not underestimate him. Let's keep making skirms. You're doing the right thing. So with your skirms, you want to be putting them up towards your settlers. If your opponent pushes into your base, or pushes up and attacks those, you got to make sure that your settlers are defended. So you've got enough to drop down a 4th bank now. It's probably a good idea to drop your 4th bank, as well as a market and a stable, and maybe some houses as well.
Okay. So market, stable, and house. They look at this shit.
Yeah. That's what happens when you don't herd. So important to get that herd underneath your, or that hunt underneath your town centre.
I'm gonna have to push forward to get the herd, otherwise I'm gonna be lacking food, like big time.
Alright, now you've got another shipment. I think in this position it's probably best you don't send anything and you try and look to age up. I would suspect that your opponent is probably looking at aging up themselves.
Yep, I would say so as well. Their points stopped going up, so I would say they have no more military, at least on the way for now.
Yeah, so at the moment you're housed, and even though you put down that house, it's taken close to a minute for it to go up, and the reason why is because you shift queued it. So when you're building buildings, ideally you want to be building them with different settlers, so that each of them starts at the same time.
I'm realizing I have the bad habit of doing that. That's not the first time it has happened in the last couple games.
Yeah. So probably cancel all of the military that you've just queued up. Because
And
you're...
wait for the age up.
Yeah,
Yep,
you're going to hit
doesn't place
age up. And then once you hit age up, you're just going to be going back. Oh, I see some military pushing towards your base. Down... It's got quite a force there. So I think you go for your age up, bring your skirmishers back, and keep gathering. And so what you're going to do is try and pick off... We need to pick off these Ulans. So
Okay,
you're going to try... Instead of
well.
hussars and skirms, you need to get ready to call Minutemen. So
Right.
call Minutemen and rally
When
them
he comes with the hussar.
rally them towards your skirmishers, because he's moving over towards your villages right now, and he's going to begin taking them out. So call Minutemen. Yep, wonderful. And now you need to focus on the Ulans. So focus the Ulans down. And ship your... probably ship 8 skirms from the home city.
8 skirms, okay.
And continue kiting. Do your best to kite. Or it's a tough position. He's attacked you at the perfect time. So with your market, you're going to buy a whole bunch of wood and you're going to put down more houses over to the top left-hand side of your base. Or yeah, that's fine. And sorry, barrackses. Apologies.
Okay. Right, so get a house, 1 barracks.
So your skirms are about to pop out. Make sure you get ready to pick them up. You're going to try and kite your best with them, okay? This is like your safety force. Ship your next shipment of skirms. We've got 7 shipment. Yep. So buy some more wood. Oh, 3 Ulans. That's not good. So if you had 10 settlers in your TC right now, you could be using it to kill the Ulans. Sell 500.
Should I cancel the skirms upgrade and get Reuters instead?
No, I don't
Or
think
is it too
so.
late?
Yeah, I think it's fine. Just make sure you sell food and buy wood. Oh, yeah. Yep, there you go. Perfect. Alright, you're doing fine. As long as he keeps burning down your buildings, you're okay. Just make
He's
sure
losing a shit on the time of these, yeah.
Yeah, just keep kiting. And continue training units with your barrackses. And make sure you rally them towards... Yep. So sell some of your food. And now create some Reuters. And get your idols onto coin mines. In fact, get a whole bunch onto coin mines, yep. So now move them back towards your stable. Yep.
Yep.
Sell some of your food again. Make sure you get a full batch. Group them all together. Yep. Nice. Perfect pull trick. Oh, perfect. Now here come the Reuters. Get ready. Here comes the pop. Go. Make sure you use your skirms to fire as well. And keep kiting with your Reuters. Don't fire with your Reuters. Just keep running with them. Let your skirms do all the firing. Okay, you can now ship 600 wood. Yeah, 9 Reuters. Yep. I don't think it's going to last though. I think your town center is going to go down. Yeah.
Oh, my town center is down, but he's still stuck in H2.
Yeah, I think you're in a fine position. You just need to continue making Reuters. So
Reuters? Shouldn't it go skirms at this point? He
Yeah,
seems to have
both Reuters and skirm.
have options.
Just pull everything back for the moment. Sell 500 food again. And buy 500 wood immediately. You need to buy your wood right now. Keep selling food. Keep buying wood. Okay. Chuck down a TC with those. Yeah, with all those villagers right there. Perfect. Continue making Reuters. So, are you putting your units in a control group?
Not at the moment, no.
So you should have your skirmishers in control 1 and your Reuters in control 2. And then that way...
I'm gonna use 1 and 4 so I don't mess them up and actually use the wrong unit.
Alright. And so you've got an idle villager at the moment. Get him to work. And now get ready because the enemy is bringing in his units. Alright, we can call Minutemen and begin our next shipment as well. Alright, it's not looking good. I think it might be over.
The fucking pop up.
Alright, so in this position, the biggest error that we made was assuming the German would do a fast fortress. We assumed that would be the case. We didn't scout despite having an envoy early, and it meant that this game has really...
Were you expecting him to fully commit to H2 aggression?
No, it wasn't something that I was expecting, and it wasn't something that we saw either. We didn't scout it, and we probably should have.
True, yeah, the fact that I lost my envoy or something early on.
Yeah, so
yeah, true.
I think
that was a big mistake.
Call this game here. Let's have a look and see where his forward base is. Yeah, so he's built his forward base right in the middle, in the most obvious spot, and yet we still didn't scout it. So it's a pretty big blunder from us. Ideally, you know, when an opponent is doing a forward like that, you really want to scout it. So definitely an oversight from us. We assumed that he would be doing a fast fortress.
Fast fortress, yeah.
But
holy shit, he had a ton of units coming out super early as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of units.
Did he have any like cross-war pikeman shipment?
Yeah, had heaps of unit shipments. But yeah, his deck definitely looks more orientated towards the Fortress Age than it does towards the Second Age. So I think it's interesting that he went for that option.
He did get like 9 new lands. All out of that, I don't think he had in stable like until much further into the game. I think all the lands that were in earlier were from shipments. I don't know, like the fact that Dutch don't get a must-type unit feel like such a big hole in their unit pool.
It makes it a bit difficult for Dutch in the early game because it's very rock, paper, scissors. You don't have that sort of dynamite like the Musketeer.
Because like, if I had Musks there, I feel like I would have been able to defend it, just because the Woolans wouldn't be so strong.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Because like 3 Ulans managed to wipe like 10 skirms all by themselves. And Ulans are not even like strong cav.
So I think in that game, the most critical error that we made was that we didn't scout the forward base. If we'd scouted the forward base, it would have made our game plan a lot more different. It would have meant that instead of going for...
we probably wouldn't age up, right? Just bump up units instead.
It's not even about the age up. It's more about like the outlook and what we'd be doing. Instead of shipping the 700 wood and bank wagon, we'd be doing 700 wood and then 8 pikes, and then just making skirmishes from our barracks. As many skirmishes as we can make in the early game and try and build up a significant mass.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Because if I had bike, that would have been much different. If I had the 8 bikemen from the shipment. Yeah, if I had 8 bikemen early on with 10 skirmishers, I would have won that. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think
Because the
so as
bike
well.
came in very late.
Yeah, the pike did come in quite late. It can be difficult as well because you never know if the German is going to be going Ulan heavy or whether they're going to be going crossbow heavy. So yeah,
It's funny because this game goes to show like how a quote unquote small thing like scouting makes such big difference.
yeah. It's really essential, and I think one of the other key things is that we made that assumption that he's going to be going up to fortress, and as soon as we made that assumption twice, and both times it cost us. You know, the first time it cost us,
Yep.
we managed to stabilize. The second time it cost us the game. To be fair, the opponent hit at the perfect time, just as you were clicking up. That's the perfect time. All right,
That's when he came in. Yeah.
up against the
Okay, so
French.
French now.
So best of luck. I'm going to mute Mike and see if you're able to do all the things I've sort of been pointing out to you. All right, so already off to a great start. He's put down those, queued those settlers straight away. Didn't greet his opponent, and hurting straight away as well. So it's a good sign. Hopefully, we do see Thomas has picked up that. It's really important that he hits that important 14 or 15 villager mark. Once he hits that mark, then he can transition from coin onto food completely. So already this is great. We see he is on coin in the beginning of the game, so it means that he's going to be looking at getting up to that 12 or sorry, the 14 or 15 settler mark before aging up. It's also scouting out some good treasures here. So I did tell him that the food treasure is what he wants to be aiming for. He spotted that food treasure, and now he's heading over for it as well. So that's great to see. Picking his deck as well. It's obviously a land map, so nice and easy. The person's name is or their clan name is Pro FI. I wonder if that gives any indication of what their plan is. All right, so we can see he still hasn't got down the well, actually no, you know what, his treasure guardian micros, that's quite good. I think that's pretty spot on. Now let's see if he remembers to pull off all the settlers off coin. He should be pulling them off any second now. There we go. All right, now one of the mistakes he's making is he's sending all 4 villagers out to that bison to bring it in. Oh, what's happened there? I think the shift is bugged. It does still happen quite a few times. This is one of the reasons why I advocate never do the shift click. The shift click is incredibly buggy, and the way that the herds move at the moment, you can shift click and the herd will move in the time that you shift click, and it ends up sending it the opposite direction. So it's just so much easier. Don't shift click. But other than that, and so because of the consequence of that is now that his herd has moved so far away, he's got to try and bring it back. So he's doing the right thing here. So he's splitting up his villages. He probably doesn't need to be doing this just because he's going to be aging up very shortly. A little bit of idle time here, but hopefully it's not a huge amount. Now, are we going to see? Yep, so he begins the transition over to wood. So he's got 6 on food, 9 on wood. It's looking good. Now, hopefully as well, we're going to see him take in one of those hunts that are outside the range of the town center. He's got one that's very, very close to his villages and begins to point it and shoot it towards his own town center. So we can see it's right on top of it. Is he gonna do it? No, he didn't do it. All right, he might pick it up. He's on the lookout now for more treasures. Inspecting the opponent's deck. Not the best looking deck, but you know, it's not a terrible deck. It's quite versatile. So let's see how Thomas goes. Does he decide to? No. All right. So in this position, I'd be attacking that explorer and using the envoy as well. The Envoy is incredibly formidable when it comes to fighting explorers, so don't be afraid to do it. So I think Thomas is just a little bit wary of the Second Age, sees all those resource crates. So he's got enough for his bank. So let's see if he drops it. He does drop it down, and he drops it down right on top of his settlers. So doing really, really well. Probably doesn't need to micro it this far out, especially we just saw that settler. And he hasn't moved anybody over to coin, so he's going to be having a lot of idle time right now. He's only put 4 on coin as well. What he wants to be doing is moving over like 8 or 9 over to coin at the very beginning, because it's going to enable you not to have idle TC time. Right now, he's sitting idle with his town center, and so you want to avoid doing that. Okay, so he ships 700 wood as well. Now, he's not scouting the French player at all, so we don't know if the French player is going for a crossbow rush. We don't know if the French player is going for a Hussar semi-FF. We don't know if they're just going for a naked FF. So we'll see what happens, but he is opening stable nonetheless. One of the things that he hasn't done is he hasn't brought in that hunt that's sitting just outside his TC's line of sight, outside the range. So hopefully he brings that in quite shortly. The 700 wood is about to drop down as well, and hopefully we'll see him be dropping down some banks. But with this, he's also going to need to put down a house, so otherwise he's going to house himself. So let's see if he picks it up. He's got an absolute excess of wood though, so he's in a good position. As Dutch, wood is your most important resource. So see, now he's prevented himself from building that Hussar because he's put a single villager in the queue. And he realizes that. So now instead of dropping down the house, he drops down a bank. Alright, so he's got the bank going down now. So if the enemy has started Hussars and has got a full batch of Hussars off, he's going to be in a really difficult time because his hunt is way outside, way further than it should be. And I don't think he's going to be able to get off a full batch of Hussars, especially if he puts down that bank. So let's see. Now his next shipment probably should be the bank wagon. Yes, it is. But the problem is he's not going to be able to get off this full batch. And so if the enemy is going Hussar start, he's going to be outmatched. And there we see the Hussars on the way. I saw them on the mini-map. I don't know how many it was. It looked like it was about 3. So I think the enemy might have just sent the 3 Hussar shipment. But if these... so he gets out... Was it 3 Hussars himself? Yeah, he's got 3 Hussars out himself. So waiting for those enemy Hussars to come in. I'm not sure where they are. Unless they were villagers. Unless it was 2 villagers. But they would look like they were moving quite fast. There the Hussar are around the bottom of the base. So instead of coming in from the front, they've just gone in around the back and tried to do a sneaky. But had they just run directly in, they would have picked up all of these villagers. So this is really a poor play by the opponent for not scouting this. He's just literally done a ring around the rosy and been unsuccessful. So... Alright, so now we see the enemy's getting some free hits off on Thomas's Hussars. Thomas is reacting by sending pikes, so this is a bit of an overreaction. Realistically, all he needs to do is just get out another batch of cav and try and avoid losing this, because right now he's lost 2 cav and lost all the health on this one, all for nothing really. So yes, he does the correct thing in building those extra Hussar out. And now we see the consequence of not herding. This hunt should be underneath the town centre. There shouldn't be any issue with Thomas and gathering this hunt. But unfortunately, there is. So he's now also housed, and he doesn't have the wood to build a market. So he's in a difficult spot, and because he sent those pikes, he wasn't able to send wood. So there's a whole bunch of fallout now that happens because of this overreaction. If he hadn't overreacted and he'd sent wood instead, he'd be able to build a house. He wouldn't be housed because he'd be 8 population lighter, and the cav that he's put out is more than enough to deal with the cav that his enemy has got. So it just goes to show that the 8 pike shipment can sometimes be a blessing, but it can sometimes be a curse. let's have a look at his next shipment. Does he go for the 600 wood? He does opt for the 600 wood, which is the correct choice in this position. And is hunting for some settlers. So the envoy's done its scouting earlier. He should know exactly where the settlers are. You can tell by the dead bodies on the ground, and the opponent has done a great job of hurting all of his courier de bar right underneath his town center, and it means that Thomas can't even get close. So the opponent's doing quite well in managing his hunts. I expect the French player will be up any time in the next 10 to 15 seconds. But Thomas is going up right behind him. He should be cancelling this villager. It's going to delay his age up if he... Okay, good, he did it. Correct. Alright, so with this 600 wood, I want to see a barracks, I want to see a market, and I want to see some houses. And then I want to see him buy more wood and put down a second barracks. The problem is, so that now the French player is up. Against the French have got the 2 falconet shipment, which is very difficult for the Dutch to deal with. So sometimes, as the Dutch, it's not a bad idea for going double stable and opening with a double stable and just getting out an excess of riders and then transitioning into a larger skirmisher mass. I'm curious to see how he's going to try and deal with the 2 falconet shipment. There's a number of different ways that you can do it. Whether you use the town centre, whether you do it with hussars, whether you go an artillery foundry. But so far he's playing it well. He didn't queue those skirmishes while he was aging up. One of the things that I'm noticing that Thomas is doing is he's shift queuing an entire batch of skirmishers or roiders. It's something that you want to avoid doing. Normally you just want to put one in the queue. And the reason why is because those resources are now occupied immediately by the barracks and by the stable. And while it can be a good idea in the late game to do it, in the early game, ideally you want to be spending your resources as you get them immediately. So he's also building up an excess of food and coin right now. So he should be dropping down a third and even a fourth military production building because he does have 4 banks up. So now the enemy begins to push him with the goons. So he does make the right play. So I hope that we do see that he picks up that he is macroing excessive amounts of food and coin, and is able to shift into that extra military production building. So doing the right thing here, adding to his skirmisher mass. Be curious to see what that third building is going to be, whether it's going to be the stable or the barracks. I think about 95% of the time it should probably be a barracks though, and then shipping Reuters. But because he's only got the 1 racks, I think it's important that he adds to his skirmisher mass at this point in time. So his economy it's really pushing ahead. He's got the equivalent of about 40 villages at the moment, and it looks like he's about to begin pop blocking himself. He needs to be making sure that his Reuters are being produced at the same time as his skirmishers. So he picks up that he was going to get population blocked as well. He puts down his house, so he's doing well. Population blocking himself a lot less. Now this is a good sign. The enemy is building up a huge mass of dragoons. That looks like 15 dragoons already out from the enemy, and that's wonderful considering that. Okay, so he puts down the second racks, good. It's wonderful to see, mainly because he's got so many skirmishers and he's shipped those 8 skirmishers. What I'm suspecting is that we're going to see the enemy begin to roll in with those 2 falconets within the next minute or two, and that's going to be a difficult spike for Thomas to deal with because he's going to have 15 to 20 dragoons, and sitting behind it are the 2 falconets. So let's see if Thomas decides to go for more skirmishes, or if he decides to invest in hussars. I'm suspecting that obviously putting down the second racks, that he's really going to try and do that. And I just wanted to note, interestingly, that he's found. Did you just find 4 couriers? 4 couriers de bars right there. Wait, and they're 2 settlers over there. They look blue. Oh no, they're red settlers. Okay, I thought they were settlers from a treasure. They looked blue. So he's just slaughtering these forward villagers at the moment. So absolutely no idea why these are here. Enemy probably forwarding to this region, and as a result losing them. But at the same time, we've got the dragoons that are raiding. Dragoons, I'm of the opinion they're the best unit in the game because of what they're doing right now. So they're able to raid, and then they can come back in time to defend against this attack that Thomas is doing on Pro FI. So a whole bunch of idols here, 17 idle villages, so now back down to 7. Still got 7 sitting in that town center. And in the meantime, Thomas is just sieging this outpost like there's no tomorrow. One of the things that's probably a good idea to avoid doing, if your opponent's got the 2 Falconet shipment, don't just start sieging an outpost, because at any time this 2 Falc shipment can drop in and just take out a whole handful of your units. Thomas is going very heavy on the skirmishes. I do like this a lot. With this many skirmishes though, it is just vulnerable to those falconets. So, and there's the dragoons from behind. That's a huge mass of dragoons. It looks like about 18 to 19 dragoons. We see 3 more pop out as well. I think he should be able to beat this as long as he micros efficiently, and it looks like he's doing it. He just needs to be focusing down the dragoons. So he needs to be hitting off a volley, correct? So he's playing this well, playing this right, using attack move there. That was a nice attack move. A lot of skirmishes coming in right here to back up these other ones. The opponent's got a second town center up already. It's only 15 minutes. What are they doing? That's no wonder they've got forward vills that are sitting there. They think they control the whole map. That's actually pretty crazy that the opponent's got a second town center up already. Let's see how Thomas reacts to it. So in this position, when I spot that the opponent's got a second town center up, I'm just going all in. I'm dropping down a second stable, and I'm not training any more villages at this point. And I'm going all in completely because my opponent's invested 500 resources in this, and he's probably invested a whole bunch more in some settlers. So I'm just going to go all in and try and finish him right now. And so we can see just how many units Thomas has got in the queue. He just finished a batch of 10 skirmishes, and he's got 8 more ready behind it. And so he's in a bit of a bad spot here. Luckily, that Cuirassier batch was only 2 curs. If that had been 4 or 5, he would have lost this entire mass and most likely the game, because the opponent's got 2 town centers up. He has established map control. He is saying, I want this part of the map. Even though there's not a lot down there, it's about having that control. But he wasn't able to get those big batches out. So it means that as a result, Thomas is able to push in with his larger mass. And he continues rallying skirmishers to the front. This is really good to see. He's doing... This is essentially what you want to do as Dutch. You're just skirm reuter. That's literally your life. You could probably even throw a little hashtag in there. Hashtag reuter life. Hashtag skirm life. Hashtag Dutch life. But still building up that large excess of resources. So it's really, really important that he continues consistent training at this point. Just keeps rallying those troops in. He's up plenty of score. He's going to win this game as long as the troops continue being rallied in. That's it. So he's committing here. Okay, good. So the right thing to do is to shoot the dragoons with the skirmishers. Position the skirmishers on the top side of the town center. The Reuters on the bottom side. So he was doing the right thing. And so he's mismacroing, so he needs to be more heavily macroing towards coin. He's built up 1100 coin. He's actually looking like he's in a really good position here. So we spot those 8 pikes there. Those 8 pikes would be going a long way to adding siege damage to this army. If those 8 pikes had been there, this town center would have been down a minute ago. So Thomas doing a drag box here. So ideally, he should be keeping these units in separate groups. You want your skirmishers and your Reuters in 2 different groups. And your Reuters should always be behind your skirmishers. Your skirmishers are what you're going to be doing your poking with. Your Reuters are what you're going to be doing your defending with. You're going to be defending from the curs, defending from the dragoons with your Reuters. And by having them at the front, it means that if the enemy's got a skirmisher mass, they're going to be easily able to pick off those Reuters and take them out. So it means that when the cav comes in, like it's coming in right now, you're not going to be able to kill it because all your Reuters are dead. And so the mass of units that Thomas has got it's pretty good at this point. But one of the things that he's consistently failing to do is to rally more units. He's got 3 military buildings right now. Only 2 of them are producing. Only 1 of them is producing. 2 of them are idle. Huge amount of skirmishes. So with the pikes, I think he was doing the right thing in just keeping the pikemen on the town center. That was probably the right play. And with the rider, his micro is on point. I will be honest. Thomas's micro is looking really good. He is really making sure that he takes out the curs on with the Reuters, and then bringing back the skirmishers. So he's looking good, much better than from what the first game was, where he's just letting his skirmishers die to the enemy hand cavalry. But yeah, still floating about 2,700 resources. 2,700 resources is equivalent to how many skirms is that? So probably 20 skirmishes. He could have 20 skirmishes in this guy's base right now, extra, if he just hadn't been idling his military production buildings. So this is good. He's got all 3 of them. He's also shipping upgrades. He's taken down the town center. He's in a great position. I think at this point this is GG. So really, really well played. Great micro in that last fight. It was wonderful to see you focus down the cuirassiers with your Reuters and pull back your skirmishers. This guy was incredibly greedy. He put up a second TC quite early, not to mention a third TC down the bottom.
I just saw that. I was like, what?
So really not sure what he's going for. I think he might have thought that he queued into the 3v3 queue and accidentally got a 1v1
I fucked up here, though, big time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why my pikemen were here. And I just saw them, and they have been there for quite a while. Because my idea was, so I'm going to push, and I'm going to leave my pikemen to secure my hunts. But then when I saw, well, where the fuck are my pikemen? And, well, yeah, you see what happened.
Yeah. Look, you played... There was a couple of mistakes in the early game, but yeah, you played really well. I'm really happy with how you played. One of the things that I think you need to work on is the floating of resources. So there were points in that game where you had close to 3,000 resources that were sitting there. And that's like 20, 25 skirmishes that you could be having in the opponent's base. So as the Dutch, don't be afraid to throw up a second stable. It's that way you can be making sure that you're getting more units out. And when you look down and see like the economy with what you've got right now, like if you go back into the game, you've got 1,500 food and 180 coin. Don't be afraid to just like take 10 or 12 settlers and just chuck them on coin straight away.
Chuck them on coin, yeah. I had a coin mine here in the middle of the map. I could have taken a few of these.
Yeah. I think that would have been a wise choice, maybe even about like 7 or 8 minutes ago. And then because the Dutch army is always going to be coin heavy with Reuters and with skirmishers, and if it gets to that point, falconets or culverin. But yeah, look, I think that I definitely notice a remarkable difference from this game compared to your first game. Even though you won both games, I feel like just watching the way that you played, the speed that you got your banks down, even your base building looked a lot better. You did the right thing.
I tried to get my barracks a bit below from where my banks were, and also the stable a bit down here. Get the banks right up in front.
Yeah. I think you did a marvelous job. All right. Well, look, we might call it there because my voice is starting to cut out.
Alright, that's fine. But if you want to give it a rest, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Look, hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching this video. Thomas, has been absolutely wonderful being able to do this with you. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to watch and to backseat game for you.
Well, I'm the one to thank, honestly, because this actually gives me a really good grasp on the mistakes I'm making. Some of them can be very obvious to people that are better than me, but they're not that realizable for me, if that's a word I can use.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty good for me, and it's super fun as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and hopefully everyone who's watching has enjoyed the video. If you haven't already joined the Discord, I encourage you to do so. We've got a lot of great resources on there. We've got the strategy advice, we've got Age of Empires memes, and we've also got my deck picks. I know Thomas is a big fan of my deck picks, and so if you'd like to check those
I
out,
copy all of those.
if you'd like to check them out, I encourage you to jump on the Discord and take a look at them. Other than that, I hope you've been able to take something away from this video, and thank you for watching. All right. Well, man,
Okay.
that was insane. Thank you so much.